Welcome to Go Kaiju Show, where we have a healthy obsession with kaiju, except bullshit from the likes of pretentious directors such as Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi. I'm your co-host. Get with me, your other co-host.
Jason, how's it going, peeps? And it seemed like that you were flipping the bird right at me because I couldn't even see what.
Oh, it was this thing. Let me redo that. Fuck this movie. And fuck these directors, man. I'm
all
sick
right.
of their pretentious bullshit.
Good night, everyone. That's the end of the episode.
Good night.
Well,
but before we get going and get me all riled up.
Well, so if you see the subscribe button down below or above wherever you're watching us from, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as smash the like button. And if you're listening to us on a audio platform such as Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, wherever, make sure to give us a 5-star rating and as well as a comment or feedback. Yeah. And if you want to find both video and audio versions of our episodes, you can go right onto our website at gogokaijushow.com.
Okay. So
let's just get straight to the point here.
We're discussing this horse shit. Okay. And in case you're not aware of what this is, it's flaming hot garbage. No, well, it is, but it's 2021's Shin Mass Rider or Shin Kamen Rider.
Actually, it's 2023.
Oh, it's 2023?
Yes.
I'm sorry, 2021. You got off the hook. 2023, you got stuck with this. Yeah. Look, dude, you know my thoughts because I kind of was talking with you off and on for like a couple weeks before you even left for Florida. I told you I was going to get a head start on this. I kind of wanted to get an idea of what I was getting myself into. And I watched the first hour of it, fucking hated it. And I even told Jason so. And I said I turned it off. And when I went back to it yesterday to get ready for this podcast, I said, screw it. I am not starting from the beginning again. I am continuing where I left off. And even before then, I told Jason, I said, I may not finish this damn thing because I hate it so much. It is, I'm telling you right now, I can't speak for Jason, but I'm speaking for myself here. This is the worst thing I have ever seen. Maybe ever, honestly. Like, this is definitely the worst thing we've covered on this podcast.
So let me ask you, since you're piling a whole lot of shit on this thing.
Fuck this movie.
What do you think is worse? Kra, Zarkor, or this one?
This one. No, I'm serious. Zarkor and Kra actually have some substance and value and homage to the genre that they're making films to. This thing, done by the pretentious bullshit artists known as Shinji Higuchi and Hideaki Anno, continues the trend where they left off with Godzilla. But here's the thing. In all seriousness, by the way, that movie's bullshit. Here's the thing. Okay. I don't really... I guess the synopsis of the film is this. Kamen Rider comes into being by the Dr. Hiroshi Midoro Kawa. I forget the last name. It's basically the doctor and the daughter characters from the initial handful of episodes from the original Kamen Rider TV series. They helped, or at least the male doctor helped to create him. And the son of the doctor, brother of the girl Ruriko in the film, is the villain. He's a butterfly og. That's what they call them in this movie. They don't call him, like
specific names. Yeah.
Yeah. They're just like butterfly og, bat og.
Yeah. That's sort of my beef with it. And then the other thing too is that they make them as these insectoid humanoid hybrids instead of just kind of a complete cyborg. And it kind of deviates from the the original. But then also at the beginning of this movie, it's like they just go into it right away without any sort of things that might happen that lead up to him becoming Kamen Rider. And the like, although I do sort of like kind of that, how they kind of give him this different look and all that stuff. But then again, when they have the masks and everything, they still have that human skin that you see kind of around the neck. But then you don't even see that when they unveil kind of that human insectoid hybrid look when they unmask themselves and stuff. So that's just kind of an error in a way. It's kind of an inconsistent sort of
There's
thing.
a lot of errors with this film. I mean, I don't even know if I will get to jive about all of them in this podcast, because part of it is I'm so riled up with my hatred of this film and the fact that I kind of don't even want to talk about it because it gets me so riled up. But this is worse than Shin Godzilla. And my theory is that the reason why I think this one is the worst out of the trio of films that Anno and Higuchi have done is because I think Toei, or whoever now owns Masked Rider,
Yeah.
I think they just kind of gave them carte blanche to do whatever they wanted to with this film. I think with Shin Godzilla and Ultraman, Toho and Tsuburaya Studios, I think, kind of were overlooking the project a little bit and kind of reining them in a little bit, I think.
Yeah, because I know both of those companies are sort of tied at the hip with one another.
Well, not just that, but they're very protective of their properties. And like, I just sort of forgot where I was going, but like, here's the thing, like, anyone who's listened to us long enough knows how much not only do I dislike Anno and Higuchi very much as these duo directors, even though I gave more or less their Ultraman movie a pass. I was like, it's pretty good. My biggest issue with it was that it felt very episodic. It didn't feel necessarily like one cohesive story. And I had a few other smaller issues, but I thought it was a pretty decent step up from Shin Godzilla.
Where I can sort of see that cohesion with this movie, as far as
it's sort of there,
as far as the story, instead of being episodic like Ultraman, I think that they sort of improved on that sort of part, but yeah, there's some issues with the story here and there. Like I said at the beginning, it just sort of puts you into everything right away. And then as far as, here's the other thing, is that with some of the characters, for some whatever reason that they had, the two guys, they didn't, tell you their names until the very end. Which
didn't you realize who they were? I knew it right away.
Recognized how they were going to go about it, but then I was like, I hope one of them is not Tachibana. But then
tell them who the two characters are.
So the two characters, they were kind of like they call themselves the Anti-Shocker Alliance. The ones that mysteriously disappeared at towards the end of the original Kamen Rider. It didn't even live up to the very end of it. But you had one guy in glasses and maybe in a goatee and all that, who was kind of the leader of this whole Anti-Shocker Alliance. And then you had this other guy, kind of his right-hand man.
He may have been Ultraman in the Shin Ultraman movie, I think. I don't know.
I didn't quite catch it or anything, or I wasn't really quite thinking of it. But then it's like at the very end, the one guy with the glasses and goatee names himself Tachibana, and then the other guy kind of with kind of the scraggly hair was Taki. And it's like, I did not like the way how they treated Tachibana in this sort of way, kind of make him part of the whole kind of this organization that's tracking Shocker and everything, instead of just being an ordinary person and all that. It would have been nice if he was part of Hongo Takashi's group, for the remainder, from the very get-go, instead of coming in at a certain period and being separate organization, just like kind of a friend or something of the sorts. And it's, I don't know, it just didn't really jive with it. It just really went far from the original intent of the Kamen Rider show. But then also again, with the actors overall, the acting and everything, it's the same thing with all the other Hideki and Higuchi and Ano productions and all that stuff. They kind of had this emotionless, robotic, monotone type of acting, which it just really gets old.
It's emo just, in many respects.
Not only that, but just boring in a way.
Again, there's a lot wrong with this. And again, like I said, it's an Ano Higuchi project. We shouldn't be surprised that there are issues with this, but I owe Shin Godzilla a very, very tiny apology in that while it still sucks and is still the worst Godzilla movie out of the franchise, that one is a little bit more cohesive and at least more entertaining than this. This, I think, is a bigger slap in the face to the character that they're using. And I don't know where to start on this other than to say, like, Ruriko's brother is the villain in this film. So we don't have like a Shocker head or anything like that, like the original show had.
At least they have some kind of villain that is sort of consistent compared to the actual show itself, where it just felt like you don't even know who the actual villain was at the very end. Whereas this one, you knew who it was.
But see, there's a lot of again, I can't say this enough. There are a lot of problems with this. There's this android K, who I believe, if I remember correctly, because like I said, I did not restart the stupid movie yesterday. I know they explained it earlier in the movie. Like, this robot was made in the personality or subconsciousness of a doctor or somebody like that was transferred into it. Did I remember that?
Something like that. I know the whole thing. It was a project started by a Japanese billionaire.
Yeah.
He had this artificial intelligence called I, and K is supposed to be kind of the I, the I for the artificial intelligence and report things back. And then that's kind of where the artificial intelligence and K kind of started. And the billionaire kind of started this underground thing. It was with this acronym, which then again,
it's the Shocker actor. Yeah. Don't even bother with it because, again, it's not worth your time. But there's also a moment where I think K overlooks this billionaire dude killing himself, gun to the head. And I kind of thought K, in some ways, if he was, or it, I should say, if it wasn't the main villain, at least it's got to be one of the villains. Guess what? We go through this movie, that K android is still around. Now, granted, the way this movie ends, it leaves it open for sequels, but it ties up enough stuff just in case they don't go there, which I hope and pray to God they don't. And as far as I'm aware of, there are no plans with moving forward with a sequel. But there's a huge loose end with this K android. Like, he shows up at one point after Ruriko gets killed by this mantis og, and he puts another flower in his suit pocket because Ruriko's father, Hiroshi, earlier in the movie dies. So these two flowers are supposed to represent Ruriko and Hiroshi. But then that's the last we see of this android. And nothing makes sense nor matters, nor really is even a good homage to the original Kamen Rider show. And for those of you that listened to our last podcast, where we not only covered the last handful of episodes of Kamen Rider, but even talked about the series as a whole, know that I'm not a huge fan of that original show, but I really did the first 20 something episodes. And there were a couple other episodes near the end, which I thought were kind of good. And the show in a general sense was kind of fun, but it ran really long. And there are a bunch of other issues with it, but I don't hate the series. This movie, if you don't know what Kamen Rider is and you go into this without seeing like any shows, especially any of the older shows, this may steer you away from that. And I would say stay away from this movie and go watch the shows. The character of Ichiro, who is Ruriko's brother, Hiroshi's son, is the villain in this film. He ends up being this butterfly og near the end of the film.
Called himself Kamen Rider Zero.
Yeah. And this villain is terrible. He has really ridiculous reasons for doing what he's doing. Basically, his whole plan is to transfer human beings and their prana, which I guess is a way of talking about
the
like
life force,
maybe their soul, I guess, their energy into this realm called the habitat. Because what ended up happening when he was younger, his mother was accidentally murdered. And as a result, he hates humanity and stuff. And so as he has this hatred towards humanity, and he's saying, I'm going to get powerful enough to where I throw every single human being into this realm where they can't lie and they can't hurt one another, blah, blah, blah. And part of me's like, well, wait a minute here, dude. That actually sounds like a good idea, because they say in this realm, the habitat, people cannot lie. People cannot hurt each other. And yet our heroes are saying, that's terrible. That's a bad idea. I'm like, no, actually, that's a pretty good idea, because, you can't, I can't lie to you. You can't lie to me. People can't hurt each other and stuff. But yet they're saying this is a bad idea. Our heroes are saying that. And so the villain and his plan and all that stuff is so poorly written here. This is not, and they, just to jump ahead, like a short moment, like there's a quick moment where it's almost like Hongo and not Ruriko, but Ichiro, when they're fighting each other at the end, they're just kind of Greco-Roman wrestling each other. Like, have you ever seen the thing called Evolved Fights? Some people are going to laugh at it because some out there know what I'm talking about. Take a quick look at what it is, Jason. That is kind of what this reminded me of. It's so ridiculous and so pathetic. Was
it Evolved Wrestling?
Evolved Fights.
Oh, Evolved Fights.
And so...
Oh...
Yeah.
Damn it.
That, if you've seen anything like that, that's kind of what that reminds me of. And
that now I remember.
And I don't know where to go because there's so much that's terrible with this film. I guess let's start with kind of how this movie opens, because this movie right out of the gate,
it kind of opens right in the middle of what was the original episode 1 in a way.
This film is uberly violent.
Oh, yeah.
But especially in the beginning part, like the first, 15, 20 minutes is where I would argue it's maybe at its most violent.
Maybe the first 45 minutes or something like that.
Something like that. And then I'm turned off by that uber violence. I think I said that when we were ending the last show. I said, I'm not a huge... That's one of the things that turned me off of the Ultraman anime series, was that it was uber violent. I'm like, yes, I understand that there were violent moments in the original live action shows, but it wasn't so gratuitous.
For
Here,
me,
it's gratuitous as well with Kamen Rider.
For me, it didn't really so much turn me off. To me, it just felt a little bit out there, a bit ridiculous in a way, because like when you think of it, in reality and stuff, you're not going to have anything like that. Like if you just do like a little tap and you don't see a bunch of blood just gushing out or anything like that, that's not happening.
No, but I mean, again, I think that's an insult to the original writer. Yeah, again, some violent moments, but it wasn't as gratuitous as what we saw here. Not only that, we understand early on that it's not really Hongo controlling himself, it's the mask.
Well,
what?
I think the mask is more the amplifier of him not really thinking, but it's like kind of this
it controls
insectoid human hybrid. When he transforms, it's sort of he's sort of semi in control, but then with the helmet on, it kind of amplifies him losing total control of his body.
Yeah, and that is ridiculous. It takes away from the character of Hongo. It basically makes Hongo a tool that basically what the movie is telling me is like, okay, anybody could put this helmet on and more or less is controlled by that helmet. But then think of this, as the movie progresses on, you don't even hear that, and no, he's more or less in control now. But we don't. I don't think we're told that or even shown that. Yeah. Like I said, it's never heard of again, and no one says anything. But then it's like with him and then Ichimonji that they're in complete control. Yeah, it's so stupid. And then early on, like when Hiroshi and Ruriko are in a safe house, he takes off his helmet and stuff, and he's kind of looking insectoid a little bit in his face and his hands. First of all, I hate it because it doesn't do anything other than just be an aesthetic. But on top of that, it never comes back. It never comes back. It never serves a purpose. Well, you see time after time with certain other people, but then other than that, but yeah, not with Hongo though. If that's the thing, like with the Mantis one, yeah, it made sense because the Mantis Og, God, I hate using those terms, but the movie uses them, so that's the best way I guess I could try to describe it so people understand what I'm talking about. Like that, it used one or two of its abilities. Hongo didn't. Like all they did was show this, and it's sort of a body horror moment, but it never comes back. It never serves a purpose other than to create shock in the audience and for Hongo. And it does nothing. It's absolutely nothing. And then we get this like 5-10 minute plus exposition from Hiroshi talking about what he was doing with Shocker, what he was doing with Oggs, and more specifically what he was doing with Hongo when turning him into an Og. And then he ends up getting killed like shortly thereafter because the Spider-Man Og, like the first villain from the actual original show, comes in as the villain for a bit, kills him. And I will say I like the ability of his character to sprout a couple of random arms. But again, it's so stupid. This whole movie, I don't think it still would be a good film, but it would have been more appropriate if it was an anime. Because this film is very anime in its fights. Yeah, it's very anime in its movement, which is not very good. That's damnation of the CGI. I would say the really good example, as you explained it there, as far as this probably be best in anime, was his battle between against the was it the Wasp Og chick there? Because with the movements and everything that when they were on the rooftop there, it was totally like anime based. So was his battle with Hayato. Yeah. Which again, it's so ridiculous. like I said, I know I'm all over the place and it doesn't seem like my thoughts are coherent, but this movie is total garbage. They're like
this movie pretty much gets a pass on us just rambling random things all over the place.
This movie, every single frame is a total disaster, but it's uberly violent. Like, I'm really turned off by that. I think just the uber violence alone, I think, is very disgraceful to the history of this character. It serves no purpose. It really doesn't.
Also, it felt like the choice of music and stuff was sort of all over the place too. Although I will give them this. You know how they sort of recycled a lot of the sound effects and then music for Shin Godzilla
So
and then Shin
lazy.
and Shin Ultraman. It seemed like this time they sort of learned their lesson in a way, because it seemed like when I was hearing some of the sound effects and stuff, they sort of made their own. I would say maybe once every while or rarely or barely use maybe some of the recycled ones, but they recreated them, not using the actual recycled sound effects and or music. With music, it seemed like that they recreated the majority of those because it sounded much more crisper this time around, instead of just being the actual recycled music and or sound effects this time.
Yeah, but that's like, okay, that's like teaching your child how to potty train. And so it's like, okay, well, instead of pissing on the carpet, they piss on the hardwood floor and it makes it easier to clean up. Like, you know, the child still didn't piss in the toilet. And it just... Anno and Higuchi are such hacks when it comes to being directors. They really are. Their whole trilogy is nothing but a mess. Ultraman is passable enough, but even then it's got enough issues I can understand to turn people away. Gosh, like I said, I don't know where to go because this is such a blatant piece of shit. I hate this movie so much. But and then Ruriko is more or less, Ruriko in many respects is kind of useless, but at the same time, it's sort of her movie more than Hongo's, because she's useless in the fact that she provides exposition and does nothing but really through her own hands downloads shit onto his rider helmet and like it.
And also unbrainwash Ichimonji.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's all she does. And then on top of that, we find out that after she is murdered, Hongo goes after her brother, not out of vengeance, but because it was one of Ruriko's wishes. So for Hongo's nothing but a tool in this. Same thing with Hayato in this. The stakes feel really low. Again, what's wrong with the habitat? People can go in and they don't lie to each other and they can't hurt each other. What's wrong with that? I mean, again, someone explained to me how that's a bad thing. So again, like if you're wanting to make a villain's plan bad, actually make it bad. Don't make it seem like a utopia. And they're talking about how the habitat is a dystopia. I'm like, explain to me, like, how is that a dystopia? Well, people don't have free will. It's like we're all of our societies, all of civilized societies are about trying to be honest with everybody and try not to hurt everybody. Like that's what a lot of civilized societies' base laws are, more or less. And explain to me why that's a bad thing. So the villain is poorly thought out. The actor is very bland and really stupid here. He sits around in a chair most of the time. He is just an emo, petty, whiny bitch. The CGI in this movie is god awful. Like this was the last movie these guys made, and the CGI is actually worse. Like, one of the things, I hate it so much when the Bat Aw guy comes up and he's just chirping his stupid little punk ass mouth, and then they do those close-ups of him and his head is still, but like his wings are flapping in the back,
kind of like that
around.
Kind of that one of those recent type of shots that you see with a lot of commercials or movies and all that stuff, where it's just fixated on a person's face and all that stuff. Yeah, to me, I really don't quite understand it either. When using that for that, it just felt sort of out of place in a way.
It's out of place. It's cheap. It takes you out of the film. Hell, near the end, when the two riders are trying to make their way towards Ichiro, they come up against a number of these other grasshopper Augs, and they go through this tunnel and they do this like gunfighting bike ride. It looks like it's coming out of a goddamn PlayStation 1 game. I mean, it's awful. And then when these characters run, it's goddamn awful. It's cheap. It's so stupid. It's done poorly. Anno and Higuchi have no real respect for these properties that they're doing. They had no real respect for Godzilla. Maybe a modicum of respect for Ultraman, because that's the best out of this trilogy, which again isn't saying much. They certainly had no respect for Kamen Rider here. I mean, the movies look awful. It's a fucking travesty what these guys have done. And I hope and pray to God that they never work again, because Shin Godzilla, my God, like, I'm like, how are people in love with this stupid thing? This thing is a huge slap in the face to the character. Ultraman was slightly better. And this is even worse. This is worse than Shin Godzilla. Like, it's almost as if they're like, fine, we'll do this Kamen Rider movie and we're going to piss all over its legacy. I mean, that's kind of what they did with this thing. Fights. This movie, if it were an anime, would have been better served. As a live action film, it's awful. It's incoherent. The acting is wooden. It's lousy. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to Kamen Rider. It's an embarrassment to everyone involved. Fuck Anno and Higuchi. Man, like, I hate this horse shit. But you know what? Even though I hate the fact that we covered this thing, I'm glad we're done, because we are done covering their films. And I really hope, like I said, I hope and pray to God they don't do anything else ever, because they fucking suck. They really do. But you know what? The thing I really hate the most, other than the fact that they made shitty films together, I hate the fact that they made me heavily dislike a Godzilla movie. Like GMK, yeah, I never was a huge fan of it, but I never hated. I hate Shin Godzilla. Ultraman was fine. I hate this. And the fact that this stuff exists is an embarrassment to those characters. Basically what I said, this stuff's a fucking embarrassment. I hate the fact that Anno and Higuchi made me into this individual that absolutely despises something that I care about. Look, I'm not the biggest Kamen Rider fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I like the original show enough. Like, I bought Kamen Rider V3, and I intend on buying some of the other shows here in the coming years and going through those eventually. But the fact that something like this garbage exists makes my blood boil. Like, if you were to put a blood pressure cuff on me, it would be high. You'd be like, whoa, dude, like, what the hell? Like, simmer down. But I can't. Like, this is the biggest bullshit ever. Say what you want, like Craw and Zarkor. Yeah, they are bad movies. We already covered it. They're bad movies. But you know what? I think the people covering them knew they were bad. They were cheap, but they actually had some heart and respect for what came before them. Anno and Higuchi are just like, hey, yeah, Kamen Rider, yeah, this is what we think of you. Like, They did the same thing to Godzilla, and they sort of did the same thing to Ultraman. You know, but I'm so sick of Anno and Higuchi. I know I sound like a broken record, but the Ultraman movie they did was like the best thing that they did, and that's not saying a lot. It's like, you know, the lowest bar you can make. It's like, yeah, you barely just covered that. You know, like, to me, this Rider movie is on the same level, and I haven't totally decided if it's like above, below, or on the same level, but it's right next to at least that Anime Ultraman series we covered here, like earlier in the year or whatever it was.
Something like that.
Like, I hate that thing too, but I don't know. Like, this may be a tad lower than that. I don't know. I haven't spent enough time because I've been oozing with hatred over this here. Like, I'm like, this, it makes me angry that these exist. It does, because it's like, it's just such a slap in the face. Please, Jason, like, take over for a bit.
Yeah. So your audio and camera can kind of recalibrate here.
My anger is like oozing through all my equipment here.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main problem. I know when you talked about it here, when you originally before I went on vacation, when you said that, I don't know if I can go through all this, and then when you got and then I think it was yesterday or Thursday when you said fuck this shit, fucking fuck and all that, and it's like it made my expectations a little bit low. But for me, I don't think it's quite as bad, but still there's a handful of stuff that are, you know, there's a lot of issues with it, a handful of it, to where, in my honest opinion, I think it at least is nowhere near the average or above average, or not a great movie at all. There are some positives for this one, whereas it sort of kind of makes kind of condenses things like from the 98 episodes and kind of make things a little bit in cohesion and all that stuff, the whole episodic sort of thing, like Shin Ultraman was. And there are some decent visual effects. Like, I do like how they did the whole motorcycle transformation and all that. And then with certain kind of insectoid human hybrid sort of looks and appearances. However, when they have the helmets on, you still, for whatever reason, they ignore that appearance and still have that human type of skin and stuff when you see the neck and all that stuff. But yeah, there's still quite a bit of handful of issues going on with this movie. Although, like I said here, it's, in my opinion, it's not quite as bad as I thought it was going to be.
You have me to thank for that. Like I told Jason, I said my biggest mistake was
it's all his fault.
And I said I should have touted this thing as like the greatest thing ever. But one thing I totally forgot to cover was how awful much of the dialogue is in this movie. And one of the best scenes to illustrate this is when the Mantis Og comes in and he just says some of the dumbest 5-year-old garbage you can imagine. Like, instead of really expressing or being having a wider vocabulary in terms of describing how angry he is, he just says, "Oh, now I'm salty. I'm very salty now." And then Hayato, when the Mantis talks to Hayato and asks Hayato who he is, Hayato says something to the effect of like, I'm the new like shocker enemy. Like, I'm like, this is awful. Like, you don't sound intimidating. Like, this is terrible dialogue. There's terrible dialogue throughout this entire thing. And this movie ends open-ended. By the way, and I'm going to spoil this, and I don't give a rat's ass because you shouldn't watch this thing. Hongo ends up dead by the movie's end.
Which to me, I think that one was a bit of a disappointment because in the original, everyone survives. I mean, it was the 70s, and also it was a kid's show and everything. But then it's like with this movie, it's like with all of the violence and everything, you definitely know it's not a kid's show or anything. I'm not even sure how they got to that certain point in trying to do all this violence and then having one of the main protagonists just die off like that.
It's an empty vessel of a movie that has no substance. Not like too, when Hongo dies, they say he somehow put his prana into the helmet.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh yeah, that's what he did. And much garbage writing.
Well, and then just not only an empty vessel, but just robotic in a way. It just oozes out into the characters themselves, just acting kind of this robotic and monotonal way and how they go about with things.
Well, yeah, and then they leave it open-ended for Hayato to go after Shocker, and then he's able to communicate with Hongo's prana via that new rider helmet that is made for him. And I'm going, oh God, like if they were to make sequels, I mean, none of the actors in this movie were good anyways, but I'm like, you're picking this guy who played Hayato to potentially be your star for any future rider movies? I'm like, this guy is more wood than a plank on a deck. I mean, I'm like, this is a guy you're like, yeah, he's star material. You know, it's like making Rick Moranis the next Rambo or something like that. I mean, it's so totally inappropriate. It just, you know, Anma and Gucci suck, dude. They're like, they're terrible at this. And this whole experiment that they've done, they're like, well, I want to make these movies in the, like, okay. You know, the whole thing, like, you know, fool me once, you know, shame on you sort of thing. But Subaraya, like, after they saw Shin Godzilla, should have been like, no, dude, like, you want to do an Ultraman movie? No, over our dead bodies. But I'm sure Toei, because they're so desperate for something, they're just like, whatever.
You know, you should, when you say that, then you should think it's like, that, was it Kalakawa and Dai should not even approach these guys.
I don't,
after a
you know
third
what?
time.
Like, I don't even know if Subaraya approached these guys. I think what ended up happening was they approached Subaraya because I think it was Higuchi. Like, after they did Shin Godzilla, was saying, I would like to do an Ultraman movie. And I think they approached them for it. I hate this thing so much. I really do. And
should we just do our rankings here?
Well, here's the thing. Like, it's been disappointing in recent months because, like I said, we had the anime Ultraman series, which I really disliked. The Kamen Rider series, I was bored with and disappointed at a number of decisions that they made, but I didn't hate it. And there was like something else I thought we did too that I'm like, I hate this thing. But I mean,
I don't think that was Spectre Man.
No, like Spectre Man, I liked enough anyways. But some may be asking, well, does it turn you into someone that hates the character? And I want to reiterate that no, I don't. After I watched this, I had a newfound appreciation for the original show. And yes, one of our biggest complaints about that original show was that it ran way too long and that it was nothing but formulaic storytelling for like 70 something episodes. Those 70 something episodes had more substance and heart than any single frame of film here for this garbage. At least it was charming and it like, you know, humored me a little bit. This is an experiment in defecation on a beloved tokusatsu character. That's what this whole endeavor was. And I can't say it enough. Like, Ano and Higuchi are hacks, dude. Like, I hope they, especially, like, Higuchi needs to stay in special effects. Ano needs to stay with what is he, like, Evangelion?
Yeah, he
needs to stay in that. Like, these guys, they veer out of their lanes. Look at what they make. Look at what they make. I mean, it's just hack filmmaking. It's ridiculous. And Jason, like, moving forward for quite a while, I want us to be covering something that I can be cheerful about. I'm tired of being a grumpy puss. I'm tired of being that old man yelling at the sky. I'm sick of it.
Well, just think of this. At least we're finally done with all the Ano and Higuchi stuff.
Well, that's what I said earlier. I'm like, the one good thing about this thing now is that we're done. Like,
but then, like I said a little bit ago, just hopefully that they don't, or Kalakawa Dai doesn't approach one another.
I hope not. But you know what? I'm like, hey, let's do commentaries and stuff. We're not doing one of this. I'm not putting my health through this. I'm not doing that again. I respect myself too much to go through this again.
Like, my health is delicate.
my health is too important to me to go through this again. Like, I just.
So let me ask you this. How many more years until you think that you're going to at least maybe try or attempt to possibly dip your feet into seeing this again? So what are you going to do with the DVD? Are you just going to donate it to a secondhand store or something?
This thing should not exist. And you know what?
Or just burn it.
It's coming up. And you know, fireworks go kaboom, right? The fewer copies of this piece of shit that are out there, the better. So this thing may go bye-bye. It may actually go fuckity-bye because I hate it so much. Hate you.
So why don't we just get this done with? We're just maybe about an hour or so. What is your ranking?
Can I say my little spiel and then give my little rating?
I think we've already heard.
No, I got another smart aleck piece to say.
I
think you might like this. I'm going to go ahead and do it. You know what I hate? Hope. Hope made me sit down for a Shin Master Rider. Hope made me say, well, maybe I don't know, Higuchi finally understands storytelling. Hope made me a fool. They lied to us. They took a beloved, bug-eyed bike riding icon, a symbol of righteous fury and justice, and turned him into a mopey, monotone trauma patient with the personality of wet drywall. This wasn't a hero. This was a walking metaphor in leather. And not even cool leather. This was discount cosplay vinyl in an abandoned parking lot. And the movie felt like getting waterboarded with pretension. Every scene slower than molasses on sedatives. Every conversation dragged out like they were being paid per syllable. And the action? Oh, the action. It had the kinetic energy of a traffic safety video. I've seen IKEA manuals with more tension. People still bring up Shin Godzilla like it was some master stroke. It wasn't. It was a boardroom meeting interrupted by a rubber lizard that forgot how to walk. You want to watch Excel spreadsheets scream at each other? Be my guest. Ano Noguchi took a monster movie and surgically removed the fun, then padded that incision with self-indulgence and incompetence. Shin Ultraman? Sure, it had some charm, some heart. It stumbled, but at least it tried. It's the best of their pretentious efforts. But Shin Masked Rider, that's where they stopped even pretending. It's not a tribute. It's not a reboot. It's a slow-motion funeral where the coffin keeps falling off the hearse. The film feels like revenge against the audience for even caring. Against the character for even existing. So no more. Ban them. Take the cameras away. Hide the scripts. Padlock the editing suite. Let them direct traffic, not films. I may not be a huge fan of the original Rider series, but I didn't watch this Rider just to watch it die like that. And my rating is fuck this shit.
So is that worse than
that's worse?
God fuck.
Yes.
And then disappointment.
Yes, it's lower than disappointment.
Well, you should also, for me, probably blame this guy for setting very low expectations for me when I was going in to see this movie. However, I didn't quite think it was that terrible. But however, like I said, there's still a lot of issues with it. There are some things I did like as far as maybe some of the visual effects in here. And then as far as some of the maybe some music and then some of the sound effects compared to some of the other two films that they've done in the past, at least they managed to not do complete recycles of these. But then again, a lot of issues, whereas you had the actors just acting in the same robotic NPC tone or characteristic, where they just sounded almost the same and acted the same, except for when they, get stabbed and then they start showing some emotions here and there. But then also it's like they sort of butchered a lot of the story from the original and then sort of reassigned some of the characters into different roles like they've done with Tachibana here. And then also kind of
talk about that idea.
And then also renaming a lot of these henchmen to Shocker as like Wasp Og, Spider Og, Poop Og, or whatever. Instead of just giving them, their assigned names like the original show. And the other thing is, I would say this is sort of maybe kind of a plus, but also negative, whereas that they did this time, instead of doing the cyborg thing, they did have this insectoid / humanoid type of augmentation, which in some aspects it's sort of pretty cool in a way, kind of how they looked without the mask, but then again, it deviated from the original without them just making them cyborgs and also giving them original names. It just deviates from the original series and all that. So again, a double-edged sword sort of thing. So yeah, and then also, when they do the insectoid type of appearance, but then they completely ignore the skin and stuff when they have the mask on and everything. So that's a bit whoopsie.
No, they're just hack directors that don't know what the fuck they're doing.
But as far as the story, at least they sort of attempted kind of a cohesion instead of the episodic like they did in Shin Ultraman. But it just, they sort of like at the beginning of the film, they just dived in without sort of setting things up in that regard, which kind of made me confused in a way. They sort of told the backstory and everything, but to me, it felt a little bit too late.
It's the thing that I heard an awful lot in several writing courses I took throughout college, where it's show, don't tell. And that's extremely important, especially for movie making, because, yeah, they dive you right in and then they have that Hiroshi character give like a 10-minute or so exposition, unless it absolutely cannot be avoided, shouldn't exist. And I totally agree. What they needed to do is, instead of talking about how Hongo became what he did and kind of what Shocker is, maybe that's what the movie should have been about, was Hongo getting to the point where, like, maybe the middle or first third of the movie, he becomes an Og and we kind of just see this whole thing take place. Instead, they're just, just like,
and then with a lot of the movies, they have them set up in arcs, or acts, like first act, second act, third act. This one, it just felt like it was just one act all the way. It
jumped into like act 2 at least, or something like that.
Something like that, or act 0.5.
It's terrible. Why do people? And again, I do honestly believe Toho kind of reined these guys in a little bit, because I almost wonder if they had carte blanche to just kind of do whatever with Godzilla. I think Shin Godzilla, and I hate to even think about this, probably would have been even worse. And Shin Godzilla is bad, but then I see this and I'm like, wow, Shin Godzilla is indeed like a masterpiece, because that at least makes sense. I hate a lot of the things that they did to it, but it makes sense. This, no.
But overall, like I said, it's not as bad as I thought it originally was going to be. All due to him by setting up the whole low expectations from the get-go. But then again, there's a handful of things that are wrong, and there's issues here and there and all that. So with that said, I'm going to give this one a D.
God damn it.
Like I said, it's not quite as bad, but still there's issues with it.
Well, on that note, thank you for watching or listening. We hope you enjoyed it, and I hope we'll be back. And
I hope you liked his little AVGN rant there towards the end. So
stay away from this thing. Save the 2 hours of your life and do something more constructive. But I hope you enjoyed this episode nonetheless, and hopefully we'll be back in a couple of weeks for something that won't piss me off.
Yeah, we're going to have to discuss
when we get done here in a moment. Yeah. Yep, because I have no clue.
Yeah, so if you see a subscribe button down below or above wherever you're watching us from, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as well as smash the like button. And if you're watching us or listening to us audio-wise, make sure to give us a 5-star, and as well as review or comment wherever over at Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, whichever. And if you want to find both video and audio versions of our episodes, make sure to head on over to GoGoKaijuShow.com.
It costs you nothing except a little bit of your time. And I listen to so many podcasts anymore. I am totally shocked at how almost all of them that I listen to anymore have some type of commercials or sponsors. And I'm like, when the hell did this happen? We are one of very few podcasts out there that does not ask you for money, that doesn't have commercials or sponsors.
We sort of been talking behind the scenes, sort of going back and forth.
We talk about it, but we never make any serious moves towards it. But we're totally free. What you see is what you get. And some of you may be like, well, yeah, your show sucks. We're not going to pay you. Fine, whatever. I don't know why you're listening to us anyway if we piss you off that much, but you know, we are one of the very few podcasts that doesn't ask for money, doesn't have a Patreon, has no commercials. Like, you know, we are prime, buddy. we are some fancy boys. And so,
I mean, we've been podcasting since 2010, and that's kind of around the days when you didn't even have all the commercials or sponsors or anything of the sort. And that's sort of kind of a more recent thing.
And you're welcome. We don't have you sit through ads and bombard you with like, please donate to us. Like, we don't do that.
After 15 years, we're still doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're the longest running Kaiju podcast, and we have no intention on quitting anytime soon. So, yeah.
I don't know after this one.
We're done with it. So, you know, the one good thing about being down, the only way to go is up. But we said that after one batch of Kamen Rider episodes a few weeks back, and then it actually did get lower. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was a complete bait and switch.
And blame Toei for that. And they make a movie that I really like as far as a guilty pleasure in Golden Bat.
Well, speaking of Toei, I was thinking, you know, after we sort of kind of, you know, go through this whole thing of maybe commentaries or discussions, what have you, what we should do is maybe start in on Super Sentai.
I got some Super Sentai. In fact, and I'll tell you when we get off here in just a moment, I bought, I think, 5 or 6 new tokusatsu series here in the last few days.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what they are.
Yeah. And like I said, I need to kind of get around to doing that one of these times.
But anyways, we'll figure out what to do in the next couple of weeks, and we will see you guys in a little while.
All right. Catch you guys next time.